And welcome back into the Sports Edge here, 590 The Fan, KFNS, KFNS.com. Jeff Gordon, Jeff Renetti with you. My son Dominic is here because his favorite all-time wrestler is with us in the house, of course. Coming up at the Scott Trade Center this Sunday. Make sure you get your tickets today. It's the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, and the great Rey Mysterio is with us in studio. Ray, how are you?
Very good, Jeff. Very happy to be here.
Well, welcome to St. Louis.
Thank you very much.
You got the schedule. I mean, obviously, we're both big wrestling fans, but your guys' schedule is the most amazing thing. How you have any time for anything whatsoever. You've got matches tonight, don't you? And you just flew down for this?
Actually, I had a match last night. Yeah, and it was funny because I was speaking with my driver last night. They drove me up from Kansas City, and we had a 4-hour drive. We left about 10, almost 11. Got in around 3 a.m. last night.
Wow.
And started my day at 6:30 this morning. So, and not to mention that we just got back from tour. We were in Costa Rica and Ecuador and Guadalajara. So we're always on the run. We were mentioning how we spend most of our time traveling, and sometimes a lot of our fans, the WWE universe, don't get to realize what goes behind backstage, what you don't see. It's not always on the cameras. And of course, most of you try to have a family and a life, and that's really hard when you're wrestling 300 days a year. Very, very hard. I want to say that the people that are already established and have wives and children, they try to cope with it, and sometimes bring the family, bring the wife, bring the kids on the road with you. And even though when you do that, it's hard, because either your children are away from school so many days that it's hard for them to keep up, or you don't have nobody to babysit them when your wife comes on the road. So there's always an excuse for something.
It's always something.
But we managed to make it work, and when it does work, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I just got sore reading Mick Foley's books about what it's like to just travel on. When you take big bumps, you're beat up, but you gotta keep going. It's what you do. To me, that'd be the hardest part. There is not much recovery time in that schedule.
Not at all. I mean, we do tend to suck it up most of the times, and I think our bodies are programmed. I mean, in my case, I've been wrestling for almost 21 years now.
Oh.
And being a wrestler from Mexico, where we don't get the proper medical attention that we get nowadays, because now we have trainers that tape up our ankles, and something happens, you get ice right away or heat. When I started in this business, we didn't have none of that. We taped our own wrists. If we wanted to get tape in our ankles, we would try to figure out and tape our own ankles, and I guess learning the rough way makes you sometimes when you get hurt say, I'll shake it off and live to fight another day. And for the fans that are listening that maybe you're novices to the wrestling game, and they're going to watch this on KFNS.com. I mean, you're 5'6", 165, but you're a main event guy, so you wrestle the guys that are 2 or 3 times your size, so a lot of your injuries are pretty significant. Yeah, and I like to mention that and then pretty much enforce it, because every time I get slammed or hit or clotheslined or drop kicked by a guy that weighs twice the size as me, it's just a lot harder on my body. Even with you guys protecting each other out there, of course, it's still some of the things you just cannot protect against. You can only protect to a certain extent, and I think beyond that, it's just realistic. The physical contact is definitely there, and you can't avoid it. And also for the people that will check the pictures out and stuff, explain the history of the mask. You're wearing your mask, and there was a period of time in your career where you didn't wear it, but even especially out public appearances and stuff, that's a very important thing especially to your culture. Yeah, well, the mask was brought, and believe it or not, the first time a mask was brought into Mexico City was by a Mexican promoter, but the actual wrestler that wore the mask was an American. And this was in the early 1940s. So that's when the whole mask and the tradition began. that was based off the ceremonies that the Aztecs and the Mayans used to portray back in their century. But the whole ritual of them painting their face, a Mexican promoter by the name of Luther Roth decided to bring wrestling and bring a new meaning to wrestling with the mask. And now over the years, the mask has become very, very popular now, not only in Mexico but all across the United States, and I want to say worldwide, because it's amazing the reaction that I see when I go to Japan, when I go to South Africa or Europe, and see all the little kids wearing the mask. Dominique here is a very good example of it.
Now you're wrestling in front of enormous crowds and places like Scottrade. Now, what's working your way up? What's the most ridiculous, or what was the most ridiculous venue, the weirdest place you ever wrestled?
Yeah. While
working your way up to the point where you're now, jamming big arenas.
Started working in barns and outside of churches, but the best one out of all times, being 15 years old and wrestling in bars where I'm not allowed, and I had to get in with my mask on so they wouldn't realize that I was a kid. So being able to wrestle in bars in the Hollywood area, LA.
Then you get a beer, you just keep the mask on.
Yeah, let it slide.
Rey Mysterio's with us, and again, the big event at the Scottrade Center. Tickets available at the Scottrade Center box office or online at Ticketmaster.com. Of course, you can stop on down at the arena and get tickets for this Sunday, the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. It's coming up at 6:45 is the time they'll get things cranking. You're in a match in the Chamber. For the people that have no idea what this thing is, explain what you're going to be involved with here on Sunday.
This chamber is a big steel cage. I mean, it's not your ordinary cage where it has 4 walls. This is a cage that is closed. It's a dome, and inside the cage are 4 pods. So there's a superstar in each of these pods that is completely locked up, and 2 wrestlers to start off. So we have a total of 6 wrestlers. 2 getting ready to go at it, and within I want to say a lapse of 3 minutes, one of those pods opens up. You don't know who it is, and that's the excitement of it. That within 3 minutes of once the bell rings, one of those doors opens up, and another wrestler comes into the ring. And again, it happens every 3 minutes. Another cage opens up until all 4 cages have been opened up.
Wow! Now you have the ability to get up in the air in this contraption.
I was able to do it last year, and last year was my first Elimination Chamber match, and I got a little bit crazy. I mean, it's to me, not being or actually doing something out of the ordinary, not being just in a regular ring with the ropes like we normally have it, is exciting. So this cage is really out of the ordinary. It's very overwhelming when you see it in person, and then seeing the superstars inside that cage is just 10 times better.
Yeah, on the way here, he asked me if there's any way that Ray would 619 me, put me in his move, and I'm like, no, he's not gonna hurt me. You probably get a lot of morons that come up to you and say, hey, what do you got, and try to push you guys a little bit.
You know what? You get that drunk guy every now and then.
Yeah.
But it's very cool that you mentioned that, Jeff, because now that Dominic is here, we try to send this message worldwide, and this goes out to all the kids that try to imitate or even try to play wrestle with their little brothers or their little sisters and try to grab them and throw them around. That it is very dangerous at what we do, and we go through a very precise training to become what we are now.